we're going to, Algebra 2, we're going to be using Desmos.com, the graphing portion of it, to help figure out if a factor is a solution or not. So as you're doing your notes today, make sure you have a fully charged Chromebook and you have Desmos.com/graphing out. I'm going to start with notes. So, overview. A solution is a zero where it crosses the x-axis. If you know one solution, then we can figure out others. There's this remainder theorem that says if a polynomial is divided by a binomial, which is what we've been doing, then, and there is a remainder, then you can write it like this. P of A equals the remainder. So we can do this two ways. We can do synthetic division, or we can plug -1 into our calculator. Let's do it both ways and make sure that we get the same answer. So we're missing a filler 0 here at the x. So our function is 5x to the 4th minus 1x cubed plus 2x squared plus 0x plus 1. And if our factor is x plus 1, that means our divisor is going to be -1. So that's our divisor. Let's list out our coefficients. 5, -1, 2, 0, and 1. We're going to bring the first one down, and then we're going to do multiply. -1 times 5 is -5. And then we add down. Multiply. Negative times negative is +6. Add down. Multiply. -1 times 8 is -8. Add down. Multiply. You get a +8. Add down, you get 9. So let's put our variables back in. So this is 5x to the 3rd minus 6x squared plus 8x minus 8. And then that 9 is my remainder. And so I write my remainder as fractions. In this case, 9 over x plus 1. So when we do substitution, we should get the exact same answer and the exact same answer is whatever your remainder is. We should get 9. So I'm going to plug -1 in for x into my function. So I have 5 times -1 to the 4th minus -1 to the 3rd plus 2 times -1 squared plus 1. I ran this in my calculator, and I did, in fact, get 9. And so this just says in function notation, when x equals -1, your answer equals 9. So since it matches, we know that we did them correct. So it's good when it matches. There's this factor theorem that says this binomial, x minus a, is a factor if basically your remainder is 0. So this has a remainder of 9. So I know that x plus 1 is not a factor because my remainder is 9. However, if we could either do synthetic division or we can do substitution with other numbers, and we know that my factor is going to be a solution if my answer or my remainder equals 0. To try to speed up the process, we are going to use Desmos.com. We're going to enter the following equation and see if we can figure out all the zeros of the function. So I'm going to flip back over. So I have 2x to the third, so 2x to the third power. To get that up there, I had to hit the shift and the 6 key. You might have to arrow over to get it out of the exponent now. Minus 3x squared minus 17x plus 30. This toolbar right here, that's super helpful. If you don't want to see all the minor grid lines, you can unselect that. And then if you come down here to the step, I also like to put ones in there, and then you can just see how the graph counts by 1. Click the tool again, and it goes away. So solutions are where the graph crosses the x-axis. So it looks to me like I should have a solution at -3, 2, and then I'm not sure about that one. I'm guessing it's 2.5, but I'm not totally sure. So this is how we're going to let Desmos help us. All right. So you should have typed the solutions into Desmos. And what are the solutions? I think that they were -3, 2, and maybe 2.5. -3, 2, and about 2.5. Okay, that looks reasonable. So what's my plan? I'm going to use synthetic division to confirm that, so if x plus 3 is a factor, then that means -3 is a solution. So I'm going to use synthetic division to confirm. And then I'm going to factor to find the remaining ones. And remember, we know that something is a solution when your remainder equals 0. So I'm going to run synthetic division. Filler zeros, 3, 2, 1, none. I don't need any filler zeros in this particular problem. So I list out my coefficients. Bring your first one down, and then multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and add. All right, so we know that x plus 3 is definitely a factor because my remainder is 0. So let's put your variables back in. So I have 2x squared minus 9x plus 10 equals 0. So this is what that equals. It says, after you confirm, then I'm going to factor to find my remaining ones. So when I make an ACB chart, 2 times 10, so I need factors of 20 that add up to -9. So -4 and -5 are my two factors. So I would write this as x minus 4, x minus 5 equals 0. 2 is my a, so you have to remember that you're going to have to divide those two parts. If it simplifies, we're going to simplify it. So 4 halves reduces down to 2. I know that I would normally swing this 2 up to the front, but I'm going to save myself a step. I'm going to leave it right there. So now I'm using the zero product property, and I'm going to write two equations. One of them is x minus 2 equals 0, and the other is x minus 5 halves equals 0. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So x equals 2 is one of my solutions. Add the 5 halves over to the other side. So x equals 5 halves, or that's the same thing as 2.5. So it looks like I was correct in my guess. And then I also know that negative 3 is one of my solutions from when I did synthetic division. And so my three solutions are 2, 2.5, and negative 3. Let's do another one. So if 2x plus 1 is my factor, remember I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to swing it to the back. And so I'm testing negative 1/2. So let's flip over to Desmos and enter that equation in. 6x to the third minus 25x squared. And I see I messed up. I don't want a z there. I wanted an x plus 2x plus 8. All right. So when I look at my graph, I can see that I have this solution right here. Looks like it's at negative 1/2. I have another solution here that looks like it's a little bit more than positive 1/2. And it looks like I have this definite solution here at 4. So Desmos looks like it's about negative 1/2, 4, and something between 0 and 1. All right, so on my notes, I jotted down, I probably have negative 1/2, and that's the one that I wanted to test anyway. I probably have 4, and there was something between 0 and 1. We're going to have to figure that one out. Okay, so since it gave me this factor, I'm going to use that as my divisor. And then I'm going to use my coefficients and do synthetic division. 6, negative 25, 2, and 8. Bring your first term down and then multiply. 1/2 of 6 is 3. Adjust for a negative, I get negative 3. Add down. 1/2 of 28 is 14. And then that negative times negative makes you a positive 14. Add down. 1/2 of 16 is 8, and that negative times positive makes you a negative. Put your variables in. So 6x squared minus 28x plus 16 equals 0. I'm going to divide by 2 so that I can get rid of my GCF here. So now I have 3x squared minus 14x plus 8 equals 0. When I make my ACB chart, I need factors of 24 that add to negative 14. So I get negative 12 and negative 2. So I want to finish factoring this. So this factors x minus 12, x minus 2 equals 0. Your a is 3, so I'm going to have to divide both of those numbers by 3. I get x minus 4, and x minus 2/3 equals 0. When I write my two equations, I get x minus 4 equals 0. And x minus 2/3 equals 0. So send it to the other side. X equals 4. X equals 2/3. And then x equals negative 1/2 from my original 1. So these are my 3 solutions. We'll do the back in a minute. Have a good one.